Today's demo is on BLT. Mixing it, and it will thicken up when it sits in the refrigerator overnight. Today we are going to actually make our BLT sandwiches. Yesterday you made the mayonnaise, and that should still be in the refrigerator. Mayonnaise is a potentially hazardous food due to the egg, the full egg in there. So that is something that you want to maintain temperature control on. We are going to start today with the BLT, and the first thing we are going to do is we are going to cook our bacon. I am going to open the package. Now, as you recall, I just used this knife to open this package of pork. Bacon comes from a pig. So I need to clean this knife before I use it for anything else, and I also need to wash my hands before I start handling the produce, or else I will be cross-contaminated. I am going to take, for this recipe, you get 6 slices of bacon. And that is to make 2 sandwiches. I am only going to make 1 sandwich for the demonstration. So I am going to turn on the burner here, and I'm going to turn it on about 8. So it's on medium. You don't want to burn the bacon, nor do you want the grease to burn to the bottom of the pan. So while that's working, I am going to wrap this up, and I will be right back after I've washed my hands. I'm back. I have washed my hands, and I have washed my knife in hot soapy water so that we are eliminating the chance of cross-contaminating with that raw pork. The next step is I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and we are going to toast our bread. And again, the recipe calls for 4 slices. That's 2, for each of you to make a sandwich. But I am only making 1 sandwich, so I am going to simply toast 2 pieces of bread. Now the bread is going to toast rather quickly in a 400 degree oven, so you need to keep an eye on it. I would probably check it about every minute to 2 minutes. This pan is warm because it was sitting on top of the oven, so I'm going to use a pot holder and put that in the convection oven. Again, you may slide this on any shelf because the fan in the back blows the air all around. The next thing is I'm going to check my bacon. I have some tongs for flipping it over. And it's just starting to stick a little bit to the pan. It's a little too early to be turning it over. Again, if you turn it over, that's fine. You're just going to have to turn it over again because that side is not cooked. We are using produce. We're using tomatoes. And we are using iceberg lettuce. Iceberg lettuce looks like a bowling ball to me. Alright? All produce must be washed before you use it. So I'm putting it in a colander. I'm only going to need 1 tomato. And you always want to check your tomatoes or your produce for stickers. These stickers are used for pricing, so they know what code to put in for the tomatoes. And we're only going to need a couple leaves of the lettuce, so I will break some off. Sometimes the outer leaves of the lettuce are really wilted and you can toss those away or throw those away, but these are fine. So I'm going to put all of this in here. And I am going to go to my food sink to wash these off. So I will go to the food sink and I'm going to use cold water. You never want to rinse vegetables with warm water because it will start cooking them and it would cause your lettuce to wilt. Alright? Okay, I have washed my tomato and my lettuce. I am going to check my bacon. I did flip that once already while we were off camera. And I'm going to flip it again. Some people like their bacon a little softer, some like it crunchy. You need to make sure that it's done. Alright? Now, bacon is a cured meat, which means it's usually been smoked. It has a great deal of salt added to it. And with those qualities, it's harder to spoil, but that doesn't mean it won't spoil. All meat is potentially hazardous, which means it is prone to spoiling. Okay, so our bacon is almost done. So I am going to set up some paper towels to drain the bacon on. So I'm going to lay those right there, and then I have some to lay on top. If you leave all this grease on the bacon, it will make your bread very, very soggy. Be sure to turn your induction burner when you're off because it has bacon grease in it, and if you left it on, that grease would ignite and you would have a fire on your hands. Now your teacher will have a small metal bowl set aside for everyone to take their bacon grease and pour in the bowl. We do not put bacon grease or any type of grease down the drains because it will clog the drain, and when the cold water goes through the drain then all the grease becomes solid, and they will actually have to bring in a professional company to roto-rooter out the drains from outside, which would close down our labs for about 2 weeks. So we always make sure that the grease is in a separate bowl, and when this gets hard and solid, we can put it into the garbage can. We can't put it into the garbage can now because it would melt right through the plastic and through a plastic garbage can. I now need to check my toast. And our bread is lightly toasted. Okay, so this will be the outside of the sandwich. This side is nice and crunchy, it's not burnt, but this is more visually appealing, so that's the side we'll use for the outside of our sandwich. If you are the last person taking bread out of the oven, it's nice if you can turn it off because it really heats up the room. Okay. Our next step is to prep our vegetables. We have our lettuce, and I'm going to just lay the lettuce on some paper towels to help get the extra water off of it. Again, the water on the bread would make your sandwich very soggy. Okay. And then we are going to slice our tomato. Now, since we are always trying to make our food look visually appealing and a nice plate presentation, I want my tomatoes to be perfect. So we are going to set up a mandolin. This is a mandolin, and you set it up. There's a lip right here, or a ledge, that's where this metal bar goes across so it stands up. And down here underneath you'll choose how thick you want the tomatoes. Okay. Now, mandolins come with this. It slides on here, there's a little lip there. You put your food in here and you slice it, and this is a safety feature so that you don't get cut. I personally find these to be very awkward. I do not care for them. They get caught a lot on the machine. So we use our hands. But that brings on a new danger because this blade here is incredibly sharp. Alright, it doesn't look sharp, but it is sharp. So we use these cutting gloves. These cutting gloves are made of Kevlar. Kevlar is the same plastic used in bulletproof vests. So nothing's going to get through these. Just call us Superman. Okay. Alright, so we're going to take our tomato, and we want to get this edge off, obviously. We don't want the stem. Now sometimes tomatoes are a little soft, so you'll wiggle them back and forth over the blade so that you don't smash them, and this would go into your garbage bowl. And since I'm only making one sandwich, I only need a couple slices. Okay, so we have a nice slice here. Okay. I'm going to put this into my produce bowl. Okay. And another very nice slice. And that will be sufficient for my one sandwich that I'm making. If you're making a lot of sandwiches, or these being presented at restaurants, they don't want slices that start thick and get thinner, or start thin and get thicker. You want the same diameter or thickness all the way around the tomato. If I were at home and making one BLT, I would not bring out a mandolin just for one sandwich. But in lab, we want you to use these for practice, or you can use a knife to improve your cutting skills. And we also use these when we're doing quantity food prep, when we need to slice 50, 60 tomatoes. You want them all to be uniform. No longer need the gloves. These gloves are nice. They can go right into the washing machine. So when you get juices on them from the food you're cutting, they can be washed. It's now time to assemble our sandwiches. Okay, I am going to go get a cutting board, and I am going to assemble my sandwich on a cutting board, mainly because I want to keep my plate nice and clean for the plate presentation. So this side is very, very attractive. It's a nice golden brown, so that's the side I am using for the outside of the sandwich. Now you will add some mayonnaise to your bread. It's up to you. Some people like very little mayonnaise. Some people like heavy mayonnaise. That is to taste. I am going to use our Dijon mustard today because the mayonnaise we made has not yet had time to set up, seeing as I made it 5 minutes ago right before we taped this. So I'm going to take some of this and put it on the sandwich. And we do not have a knife handy. How quick that was. We have a straight edge. Straight edge or a butter knife will work very well for spreading the mustard. Again, this is by taste. If you are at a restaurant, they will have a fixed amount of mustard that goes on every sandwich so that every sandwich tastes the same when it goes out to the customers. Okay? We are then going to put our lettuce down. The reason for that is this is the driest ingredient we have, meaning it's not going to it's not real juicy like a tomato, so it won't make the bread soggy. And you can tear this how you want to fit on the bread, and it will look nice if some of it is sticking out the edges. Okay. Some people like more lettuce than others, so that's entirely up to you. And we are now going to take our tomato slices, and this was a very large tomato, so you can see it covers almost the entire bread. And we now take our bacon, which is dried very nicely, and we do need to break it a little bit because it's so big. And again, in a restaurant, the same amount of bacon's put on every single sandwich so that it's uniform. And some restaurants make a BLT club sandwich, which means they put a piece of bread, they repeat it all again, and then put another piece of bread. All right, like a decker. So it would be 3 slices of bread with, it's like 2 BLT sandwiches put together. I then am putting my lid on with the attractive side out. And then I want to get some frilly toothpicks. And we have those available. And I'm going to put one in each corner. Now the purpose of this is to hold my sandwich together and to look nice. Now whenever you're using toothpicks for food prep, you do not want to push it all the way down into the food. You need to have the toothpick sticking out so that people don't bite into it. And commonly in restaurants, they always use frilly toothpicks so the customer sees this here and doesn't bite into a toothpick and then it pierces the top of their mouth. Okay. I am using a serrated knife to cut the sandwich because this will slice through the bread nice and easy. I'm going to put it like I want it and then saw a back and forth motion. Now when I put this on the plate, all my crumbs are on the cutting board. So I can set this right on the plate, and then you could add some chips or french fries or carrots or something to that to serve. Bon appetit!